All right, today we're going to tackle the final, and let's be honest, often fumbled part of the IRAC method in UK contract law, the conclusion. It's the very last thing your examiner reads, so let's make sure it's the part that really sticks the landing. So let me ask you something straight up. Is your conclusion losing you marks? For a lot of law students, the answer is probably yes. This is where so many of you let hard-earned points just slip through your fingers right at the finish line. We're going to fix that today. Okay, so first things first, what even is the C in IRAC? What's its actual job? It's not just there to sign off your answer, it has a very specific and frankly crucial role to play. Think of it this way. Your conclusion is simply the direct and reasoned answer to the legal issue that you identified way back at the beginning. Everything you did in your application section, well, it's all been leading up to this one single focused answer. Now, if you remember only one thing from this, make it this. Your conclusion is for concluding. It is not the place to keep arguing. Its job is to resolve the question, not to suddenly throw in new evidence, or a new case you just remembered, or a new line of thought. So a really powerful conclusion has three key ingredients. It's short, and I mean often just a single sentence. It's direct, there's no doubt at all about your answer, and it's completely laser-focused on the specific legal issue you set out to solve. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. You know, to really get this right, it's just as important to understand what a conclusion is not. So let's run through some of the most common exam tropes that students fall into. First off, it is not a summary of the facts. The examiner knows the problem question. You've already worked with the facts in your application. Repeating them here is just redundant and a total waste of your time. It's also not the place to just repeat the legal rule. You already did that in the R section of IRAC. The conclusion is all about the outcome of applying that rule, not the rule itself. And this one is a biggie. It is absolutely not the place for a new argument. Look, if you suddenly remember a brilliant point you forgot to make, it's too late. Shoving it in here just breaks your logical structure, and frankly, it looks disorganized. And finally, please avoid any grand emotional or rhetorical flourishes. Legal analysis has to be objective and reasoned. Phrases like, "it is a great injustice," have no place here, and can actually cost you marks by showing a lack of professional discipline. Okay, so we know exactly what to avoid. Now let's build a super simple but really effective formula for writing a strong conclusion every single time. Here it is. It's just a three-step process. First, you signal that you're wrapping up with a transition word like therefore or accordingly. Second, you answer the specific legal question you posed in your issue statement. And third, and this is key, you use qualified, cautious language. Seriously, one perfect sentence is often all you need. So why is this qualified language so important? Well, because certainty is pretty rare in law. Using words like likely, unlikely, or on balance doesn't show weakness. It actually shows legal sophistication. It tells the examiner that you understand the outcome is probable, not guaranteed. Okay, let's put this all together and make it real. We'll use a practical example from a typical contract law scenario, and we'll compare a weak conclusion with a strong one. Just look at the difference here. The weak conclusion on the left is chatty. It uses these absolute words like obvious and definitely, and it starts summarizing. But the strong one on the right, it's one clean sentence. It uses a transition word, it directly answers the question, and it qualifies the answer with likely. It's precise, professional, and restrained. So why does that strong example work so well? Because it reflects all the reasoning that came before it without repeating any of it. It directly matches the issue, was a contract formed, and crucially, it stops cleanly. It says only what's necessary, and then it's done. All right, let's do a quick fire round of the most common mistakes that examiners see so you can make sure to avoid them when you're under pressure. Anytime you feel that urge to write clearly or obviously, just stop. These words are a huge red flag. They suggest you're just asserting something as true instead of proving it in your application. You need to let your analysis do all the talking. And let's hammer this home one more time. Never, ever introduce a new case or a new piece of law in your conclusion. It is a fundamental structural error. Just don't do it. And finally, always remember that the conclusion should be the shortest part of your IRAC structure. If you look down and you've written a whole long paragraph, you are almost certainly just waffling and summarizing your application. Brevity is strength. Okay. Let's wrap this all up with a final tip for your exams. This is about more than just a writing technique. It's really about your mindset.
Your conclusion is a signal to the person marking your exam. A clean, precise, and restrained conclusion demonstrates intellectual control. It shows that you're confident in your analysis and that you understand the discipline of legal reasoning.
Trust me, examiners are way more impressed by a quiet, confident conclusion than a loud, overstated one. That restraint shows maturity and a true grasp of how legal arguments actually work. So you don't need to end with a big bang. Just remember this: good legal answers end quietly. They state their reasoned conclusion and they stop, leaving the examiner completely confident in your analysis.